welcome everybody to the Monday, May 24th, 2021 regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charlie Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing, and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings during the emergency, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. This meeting will be available on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can use the link listed on the planning board agenda on the calendar front page of the town's website. While conducting the meeting remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard operating procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members and applicants will be on video. Oh, hold on, suddenly this just shrunk. I need to zoom it from my old eyes. There we go. We'll be on video and audio. Public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function of Zoom or make a request with the Q&A function. If you are joining only by phone, you can press *9. If an applicant wishes to display materials, please make the request of the chair and email the materials to the board staff for sharing on screen. When sharing testimony, please state your name and address for the record. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and a second, so it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made the motions. All votes will be by roll call. So we will start to ensure we have a quorum. We'll start with our roll call. Greg Strange here. Peter DeShanes?
Here.
Robert Stetson?
Here.
Amos Kedem?
Here.
Deborah Balsaric?
Here.
Excuse me. And Chris Anderson?
Here.
All right. Thank you all and welcome. We have our two usual continuances. First one is 58 Mill Street. Owl Ridge Estates have requested we continue to June 14th, 2021.
Motion to continue 58 Mill Street and Owl Ridge Road to June 14th, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor? Greg Strange, aye.
Peter DeShane, aye.
Robert Stetson, aye.
Chris Anderson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have the same with the same date, June 14th, for 560 Foundry Street, Sawmill Village.
Motion to continue 560 Foundry Street to June 14th, 2021.
Second.
Was there a second there?
Yes, I seconded that.
Hi, Peter. All right. All those in favor, Greg Strange, aye.
DeShane, aye.
Robert Stetson, aye.
Aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Aye.
Great. Stephanie, I noticed that 774 number that you asked.
Do you want to just ask that if they're...
Yeah, the 774-678. I see you have a hand up if that's intended. If it's not intended, you can take it down. If it's intended,
You want me to allow...
why don't we find out what it is?
Just allow to talk and then we can mute.
Okay, 774, you are allowed to speak.
You need to unmute.
You have to unmute yourself. Okay, well, I'm going to assume, oh,
Yeah.
Did you hear something?
No, we'll just disable.
Okay, we'll just move forward, and the 774 number.
Lower the hand, and then if the
All
person...
right, so we will move on, get back to my agenda here. Uh-oh, where'd it go? How did I lose my agenda? Boy, I won't miss these Zoom meetings. All right, there we go. We have a minor modification, site plan 491 Foundry Street. Is there anyone here for that?
Yes, we have Barry Crimmins and Noreen O'Toole. And if they would unmute.
Go. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, the volume's down a little bit, but I can certainly go. Can everybody on the board hear okay? Okay, I'll just turn up my volume. So if you and your team just will identify yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Thank you very much. On behalf of the applicant, Global Montello Group Corp., I'm attorney Barry Crimmins of 909 Washington Street in Stoughton. My partner, Noreen O'Toole, is present on the meeting this evening. I'm not sure if anyone else from our project team is present, Mr. Chairman. I think Ms. O'Toole and I may be going it alone tonight.
All right.
If there is and they raise their hand, we can recognize them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do you wish me to proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Sure. Why don't you lay the table here?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So the members may recall, we were before you last year. This is the new All-Town Fresh convenience store at the corner of Foundry and Depot Street. If you remember, we were here before you last year to provide for the outdoor seating area to the right of the store. That was done as part of their remodeling and rebranding of the All-Town Fresh company. That has since been constructed. And thank you. I was going to ask if the members had the plan. So to the right of the store, you can see the outdoor patio area that was constructed as part of the remodeling of the All-Town Fresh store. The new store opened last month. I think it was April 13th was the actual date. And it's actually been going very well. More recently, we filed an application for a variance that was approved by the zoning board for the shed that you see over to the left side. The variance related to the side yard setback, where we're only about 9 feet from that side yard. That variance application was approved by the zoning board at its meeting on May 4th. The decision was filed with the town clerk on May 11th. So we have about another week to go for the 20-day appeal period to expire on that. The application that we submitted to the Planning and Zoning Board was for a further minor modification of the site plan to add the proposed 8 parking spaces you see there on the lower right section of the plan, pretty much at the corner of the Foundry Street, Depot Street intersection there. That's intended to be for employee parking. Presently, most of the employees park behind the convenience store over by the car wash building. And so there was a desire to both open up those spaces in the back, as well as to have a more designated area, so to speak, for the employee parking. So the application proposes to add these 8 parking spaces. And that is really the only change to the site plan that you approved last year, other than, once again, the shed that's proposed up on that left side of the building. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or the members may have.
Okay. Stephanie, did you have anything on this you wanted to state?
I think my main comment was, again, it's a minor modification. They appear to have plenty of room between the stalls and the travel lane. But they're showing the parking stalls as 9 feet wide by 18 feet long. And, you know, the administrative rules and regulations require 10 by 20 feet long. So.
Okay. Is that everything?
And that's really it. I mean, it's a.
Okay. So just, at first I was like, yeah, this seems fine. And I actually was filling up just last week at this gas station. And a very common occurrence, there was a large tanker filling the tanks, which are in the area, the bottom of this plan where it calls out, there's the 7 metal covers and concrete mat.
Right.
And, if you recall, when we looked at this for the request for comment with ZBA a month or so ago, I said, oh, looks like they're going to add parking. My concern is when this, right now, when this tanker fills, which I've seen many times, this is the gas station I use most of the time, given that it's right near my house. Cars can still kind of scoot around to the right-hand side, because many times people park on the left side also. So that just became a concern. I said, wonder what's going to happen when there's, now there's parking there, especially it's employee parking, so there'll always be cars there. I became a little concerned. So anyways, that's just my only comment for now. Okay. Any other board members?
Are the employee parking spaces going to be marked? And are there 8 employees that are working at any one moment that many spaces is necessary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, what the staffing levels are at the moment. So whether or not they would actually need all 8 parking spaces for employees at any given time, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Will the parking spaces be delineated as employee only?
I believe that's the intent, that that they will be designated as employee only spots. I can confirm that, though.
Because I do think that, even with signage, if there are people parking there, obviously if pedestrians crossing and there's traffic basically in all directions almost. So I think that's a little bit of a concern. Also, are we actually voting for the minor modification that includes the shed? Is that part?
Yeah, that was right. We still have to, even though it was approved by variance, we still have to approve it on a site plan.
Right.
So my only comment was, I think when we were looking at it previously for the ZBA, I think there was a notation about it being for overflow of paper materials. And while I think it is in the back and it's fairly unobtrusive, I really just hate the idea of another, miscellaneous building kind of cluttering the site. And it just seems like a real lack of consideration for the needs of the space at the time the renovations were going on, that a shed would be necessary to house something like that.
Okay. Any other board members? Comments, questions?
This is you guys have some good comments on what the the filling up the tanks, and I guess that maybe the safety of those spots in the front, but I think it's okay with me.
Yeah, I think if we were to revise to the 10-foot by 20-foot spacing, it would be nice to see maybe like an outline of when a truck's parked, where it would be, so that we could just like a kind of a dotted line, because I've never seen one there, but I can imagine like that first or second parking space on the bottom could kind of be wiped out. So other than that instance that Greg brought up, I think it looks good to me.
Okay, I guess that's it for the comments. So what would the board like to do?
What do we do about the parking spots? Are we requiring the 10 by 10-foot wide parking spots and then just a reduction of 1 parking spot, or just to take over some of the striped area? Or nothing?
Well, our bylaws do call out 200 square foot parking space. And, I think without seeing, an engineered layout of a filling truck, basically they kind of take the corner. I'm not necessarily advocating for that. I'm just, just bringing it up. So, sometimes you can overanalyze these things. I just wasn't sure. I looked at it, I said, because at first I thought, okay, pretty much this is a no-brainer. I saw the same thing with a 9x18. I'm like, well, they can just change that. I wouldn't make them come back just for that.
So would we say reduce the additional parking spots to 7 and leave more striped area near the filling area?
Well, the thing is, when you look at when they fill, of course, there's no set pattern. But for example, the truck the other day was parked. If you're looking at those 7 covers I referred to, was parked between, basically over them almost, but bent going to the east, so towards the right. So if cars are in the bottom spaces, or any of those bottom half spaces, or any of those spaces parked, you're not going to be able to go around it. You'd have to take a left around the around the parking lot. Go up sort of where that the asphalt patch is called out, that dark gray poche. Now it's a temporary condition. They don't fill permanently, and so and to an earlier point, I would be shocked if they had 8 employees here, but I understand they're trying to expand their business and are hoping to fill those parking spaces. So I'm kind of ambivalent to it. I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure if it's really an issue. I mean, right now, sometimes people still kind of go left all the way through the parking lot, and our bylaw is set up that we are allowed to circle back. If an issue happens, we can call people in and amend a parking layout.
And the traffic pattern actually, as it works pretty well. So this might make it a little more tricky to navigate it.
Yeah, it's always worked because there's lots of room there, but now putting those spaces in certain, now there's less room, at least during the time of filling.
Yes.
It gets a little precarious because when you think of it, now you're trying to get to that exit onto 106, and I mean, maybe overthinking it a little bit, but that's sort of our job from a safety standpoint. But
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Amos.
Well, the question is for the applicant. Was this considered, and what is the answer? What do you do when the truck is there? Although it's not there that often, I don't know how often it is there, but did you consider this?
Yeah, we did, and I think the consensus was that the infrequency of time that the truck is there filling and the amount of time that it's there is such that we didn't see it as a major issue. I understand the issue the chairman is raising, but I think folks will be able to navigate the lot. There is, pretty wide area there, so I trust folks will be able to navigate around the truck during the short period of time that it may be there filling the tanks.
Then a second question for you: will you modify this to meet regulations for the parking size?
I don't think the engineer was aware. I think even when I saw in the zoning chart, I believe he called out 9x18 spaces as shown on the plan. So I think we all missed the 10x20 requirement. So we can simply modify the plan and probably eliminate one of the parking spaces to make them all compliant.
Yeah, I would say that's my most frequently used gas station too. I've never seen it being filled up. So I will make a motion to approve the site plan based on the modification of a 10x20 space. And if that causes a reduction of 1 space to 7. So be it.
That's in second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have another question for the applicant. Will you consider moving the shed somehow to the back so we don't have this, for aesthetic reason, we don't have this shed facing the front of the building?
Yeah.
You have
we-
other items there on the back. I think it's you have the trash, you have some other things. Is there a consideration to consolidate and move it to the back?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the concern that the members have raised about the shed. A couple of quick comments. I think number one, despite the fact that it does mean one additional structure on the lot, you know, it's going to be a shed that looks much like the sheds that we all have in our backyards to store, you know, various, you know, lawn equipment and the like. In this particular case, it's used to store additional paper products and cleaning products for both inside and outside the store. There was a desire to have the shed located close to the building so that employees could access the building without having to, you know, go too far to access it. And then lastly, when we look to try to find a location on the lot where the shed could be located that would meet the setback requirements, there honestly was really not a location on that lot that we could find that would accomplish that, and that would also balance it with the practical desires of the applicant for why the purpose of the shed in the first place. You know, believe me, they didn't want to have to apply for a variance to locate the shed where they did, but there just really wasn't any other location on the lot that would be practical and would provide the functional utility of that particular location.
Any further comments from the board?
I just had one last question. I'm sorry. I was zooming in. I don't quite see it, but what are the current total parking spaces without the additional 8 on site right now?
They're in the zoning analysis table at the top right.
Oh,
Get the
okay.
point in on that. So it's actually below the say sort of grid chart.
I
It's
see it now.
30 proposed.
And there is 24 now.
Correct.
Right.
Also, I noticed that the parking stall criteria on the grid doesn't have our dimensions, but that's okay, I think.
Yeah. We actually did not pick up on that, I must confess, until we received Ms. Danielson's memo that indicated a 10 by 20 requirement.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approval? Strange eye.
Peter Duchesne, aye.
Anderson, I.
Stetson, I.
Balsaric, nay.
Kevin, aye.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we'll revise the plan to show the 10 by 20 parking spaces and submit that to
Yeah,
the
submit
planning
that to
department.
Ms. Danielson.
Right.
You know, when you do that, if you look at the zoning analysis table, the parking stall criteria, you can
Right.
just put in the 10 by 20
Right.
there too. So
Okay, great.
someone in the future doesn't go back and get confused. Thanks.
We'll do that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Very much.
All right. There's my agenda. Next, we have a discussion, I believe, led by Ms. Danielson of Victory Estates.
So Victory Estates is a subdivision located off Bay Road. It is completely built out at this point, and it was approved back, I think, in 2012. The road was not completed. There's still work that needs to be done. I believe in your packet, there are copies of the most current street inspection report and road cost estimate, identifying what remains. The project was originally advanced by and approved for Bob Carroll and his building business. They sold it just prior to completion of, I think it was the last 2 or 3 lots, to Diamond Builders. I had a conversation with Mr. Deach, and I think he may be here. If he is here, he can raise his hand and be recognized. We can make him a panelist. And at that time, he indicated that they were done and that they weren't going to be able to financially complete the road. I think what happened is they came in, they were asking for a reduction of the bond, and the bond, we're holding cash, and it is being held in Mr. Carroll's name, and we would need some kind of legal document showing that there had been a transfer of the property, including the surety, to Diamond Builders, and we did not have that in hand. So, we had some conversations. We've tried to get the road completed. It hasn't progressed. We did send the letter that you have in front of you on April 20th, and indicated that if the road wasn't complete, that within 30 days, that we would begin actions to take control of the surety and get the road completed. Over the last week, we've had communication from Mr. Deek indicating that he believes more work has been done since the last time we had a street inspection report done. He wants to have another inspection done. At that time in the conversation, he suggested that after doing that, the board could release additional funds to him. Again, we still have the issue of not having legal documentation that would allow us to leave to release any funds to Mr. Deek. And in addition, I think we have $78,000, $75,967 left on the surety, and we would want to make sure that we had enough to complete the road if we needed to take it. So I don't see recommending to the board that any funds be released until the road is completed.
Right. After discussing this with you, I completely agree. I at this point, with the small amount of work left to be done to complete the road, I'd like to see the road completed and approved, and then funds.
Certified letter about just asking to, I don't know, just say that that's our intent.
Yeah. So the board needs to vote to find the developer in default, and then there would be a second communication, and then we proceed from there.
But knowing the cost of the town completing roads, we would prefer not to take that step. We'd rather see the road completed per the original agreement.
Right. As I understand it, we did seek a cost estimate from Amory Engineers, who have been doing street inspections, to go out and do a current street inspection road cost assessment. And Mr. Deek has indicated that he will deposit those funds tomorrow. If he does, then we will have Amory go out and do an updated inspection. I mean, that benefits us. as well. And, you know, I'm certainly willing to have a conversation, but at this point, the developer is in default of completing the road. But that requires a board vote.
So what is your recommendation, Stephanie? What are you looking for us to do?
My recommendation at this point would be to vote that the developer's in default. We can still proceed and get an updated street inspection. But again, unless Mr. Deek agrees that he's going to complete the road, I think we need to proceed.
And just for the folks at home, if you could just explain why you feel he's in default and then what the steps the town would take would be.
Yeah, this project was approved before 2014. All the units have been constructed, so there's no reason to keep to not finish the road. Generally, that's one of the reasons the developers don't like to finish with the top course, because they claim that there'll be damage done to the road while they're continuing to bring heavy equipment in to finish constructing. But the road is, the subdivision is completely built out. Mr. Deek has communicated to me himself that he's not going to finish the road. I didn't get a good indication from him that even with an updated road cost estimate, he would complete the road. We would prefer that happen, but I don't think waiting another number of months for that makes sense. This is the season and the time to get that, you know, the plants are open, the concrete plants are open. There's probably a backlog already in getting it done. And the people that are living on the road are concerned about deterioration as we are.
So when we spoke the other day, though, I guess I misunderstood. You seemed to be under the impression you didn't want the town. It was once we default, there's no going back, right? The town would take this, but then they have to go through the whole public bid process. And
right.
Would happen during this?
Well, do you want to wait till the next meeting to see what the outcome is of the?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just confused because I thought when we spoke, you weren't looking to have the town do this. So maybe something's changed since then. I don't know.
I don't think I wasn't looking to have the town do it. I think what I said was I prefer that the town didn't have to do it.
But once we vote that he's in default, does that force the hand? Does that terminate the agreement, so to speak?
I don't think so. I can verify with town council, but.
Well, I guess if we're not sure yet, and you said that he was putting up the funds for the new road cost estimate? Yeah,
he got back to us today. I expected him to make a deposit last week, but he wanted to do it online, so we had to set up an account for him to do that. And we did hear from him today. I did receive an email that he said he would deposit the funds tomorrow morning.
So we could just wait until the next meeting to take the funds if we can, and that would just give us a little more clarity on if it's reversible as far as after our vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd also, if we are going to postpone this till the next meeting, I'd like to see a copy of the bond that we have and the decision, just so I guess this was, what did you say, 2014 or before 2014?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just if you could, maybe send over a copy of that in the packet for the next meeting, I'd like to take a look at it.
It was a cash deposit. So it was.
Got to be some sort of an escrow arrangement then, or something. I mean, there's got to be a mechanism. Maybe it's just my own professional interest, but if it's possible, I'd like to just take a look at it. Maybe it's addressed in the decision. That's also quite possible. I'd just like to look at it.
But I guess the question that just came to mind, even if the funds were deposited, if the, will the, forgive me, I forget their name, but will the consulting firm have the work done by our next meeting, the inspection?
Oh, they should, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like we should hold off, because why else are we doing this inspection if, certainly we're not going to, you know, I would not support giving any money, regardless of what has been done, because the town, it's just always comes out, you know, towns don't want to get in the business of finishing roads because of all the procurement laws. It's very expensive for towns to do that. And very often in the history of this town, the monies that remain don't often cover the work remaining. So I guess I'm curious as to why he's pursuing having this road cost estimate done unless he's anticipating requesting money back, which again, I wouldn't support. I don't think we should pay any money until this road is complete.
And that is
unless we found it in default, obviously.
right. And that is what he indicated his intent was. And I stressed several times that I would never recommend to the board to release what's left of the bond before of the surety before the work was completed.
So having not been privy to your conversations with him, what for your game plan, being the director, what is the best course of action? Does it benefit for us to vote in default tonight, or is it something we can wait to the next meeting and Bob can see the information he requested, and then maybe we can see this road cost estimate? Or is it your thought that we're going to be delaying construction even longer? I mean, do we know what the time is for the town to get out and finish this stuff?
I do feel that it's just delaying work that's not going to get done until the town takes action.
It's not clear.
And again,
Stefan?
I don't know if, I haven't seen anyone raise their hand. Mr. Deek was informed of the meeting.
Yeah, there's no one by that name in the attending. Of course,
Right.
is right. There's still the 774.
Right, but they've had every opportunity to raise their hand if it's Mr.
Right.
Deek.
So we don't know if we vote today, if this is good or not, or it's part of the actions the town needs to take. It's not clear, right? If I understand this correctly.
Well, I guess maybe I misunderstood when I spoke with Stephanie last week, but I guess the situation is that this road is not going to be completed by the builder. And so we should find him in default so that we can get going on the reconstruction of it. That's just a little different than the conversation we had last week, I thought, or at least that I understood. Because, you know, but maybe it makes sense to get this cost estimate done. It's not money out of our pocket, and then it'll give us an idea of what needs to be done so we can, you know, then I guess the DPW would handle road construction. Is that how it's?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, so then once there's a road cost estimate, I'm assuming it goes to the DPW. Or I mean, I'm sorry, a list of items that need to be completed. And an estimate would be done by the DPW, and then we can look at where that sits in terms of what remains for surety, and then we can make a decision. Unless I'm missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Does the board agree with me, or am I in left field?
I think that makes sense. I'd just like to take a peek at the governing document just to see if we've exhausted all, you know, avenues to avoid a deficiency here. That's sure. And maybe the cost estimate takes care of that. Maybe it comes in under that number or something. So I'd be in favor of what you recommended, Greg.
Okay, so we can hold off till the next meeting or when we receive the cost estimate, I guess, whichever.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever comes first, whichever comes second. Is that okay with Stephanie? Does that work?
Yeah.
Board members, y'all good? All right. Well, that's what we'll do then. And just as an aside, when we were talking about this Stephanie the other day, and I know this is harsh, but I always look back and, you know, many times in Easton, you think of how roads are built. They're, you know, you have a base course of binder, right, which is basically larger rocks in the asphalt, you know, in the bituminous slurry, as it were, and then that gets laid down, right? If you ever put your driveway in, and then subsequent to that, a top coat goes on, right, which is fine, which is more sand or, you know, smaller aggregate. But so many times in this town, in the 34 years I've lived here, I've seen binder down for decades, and you know, binders rated to be open for 18 months in our climate, you know, because think of those voids in between those large rocks are little pools, and they freeze up, and so that's why so many, if you know, some of our newer roads that were built privately have, you know, major cracks and things in there, because they, you know, the base, it's like anything. You put a house foundation in and you don't build on top of it or backfill it for 15 years, that's not a very good situation. So years ago, I worked in Bridgewater. I was building a house there, and they have if you put a road in, they require you to finish the whole thing. Now, any developer or builder watching this is going to scream and go, but it's really not that big of an ask. What would happen when you go in for a building permit for a house in that subdivision or a commercial building, and if it was an industrial or business zone, you'd pay for a bond. I think it was $5,000 or $10,000 at the time. You'd do your construction. You'd be thoughtful and careful with your machines. You'd put plywood down when you're unloading, or mats when you're unloading your excavator. And at the end, when you went for your occupancy permit, the DPW, or I think they actually had a street department, would come out and inspect, and any damage they would repair, but it would come out of that, you know. So, and those, you know, to me, that's a recipe for roads lasting a lot longer. And not that we have that many subdivision roads, but I don't know, I just think it's something to consider going forward, because in my 16 years on the board, this is one of the items, right, Stephanie? This is one of the items we've had the most, right? And Peter, you've been here almost as long as I have. I mean, we constantly have these issues with road bonds, and people coming back and wanting $17,000 here, and you know, and it's like, just get it done already. You know, we had a contract with the town. Do it.
Yeah, you could do that, or you can even just, you know, just kind of have a process in place where, you know, we have our regulations that, you know, a year or 2 years in, then the top coat has to go on. So it can't just doesn't just drag on for,
right.
You know,
but the problem is when you put
8 to 9 years, right? I mean, 9 years is
right.
That's kind of our fault that it went 9 years, right? I mean, after 5 years, it should just be that thing has to have a top coat now.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but the only problem I have with that is we have so many. You know, let's face it, we're a regulated society, especially in Massachusetts, right? And regulation is good to a degree, but we have between, you know, we have, you know, scenic road bylaws and historical bylaws, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and there's just no way that the staff is going to be able to keep up with all of that. And you know, so sure, okay, after 2 years it should trigger, and that needs to be done. But if it, you know, how's that going to be managed? You know, so that's the more I'm like, you know what, just get the road in, do it right, be done with it. If it's a large subdivision and it's a big financial, well, phase it. You know, do it in 2 phases or something. But you know, anyways, discussion for another time. I don't want to keep us get off track, but it just doesn't seem to be working the way it is, because it seems like every 3 years we have a road going into default.
And we're not the only community.
No,
so,
no, it's not an Easton thing, right?
Right. And other planning departments have the same problem, that, you know, you get a road, it hasn't been completed, and then you have to pull, and it's been several years. I mean, the inflation rate that you incorporate into your road cost estimate is outdated. Again, as Greg pointed out, it costs the town more money than it would the developer to do the work at the time they're doing it. So,
and look at the spike in building materials.
Yeah.
Right now is unprecedented, and I can't even imagine. You know, talk about outdated pricing models. I can't even imagine. You know, again, I don't know what needs to be done at Victory Estates, but I'd be shocked if it's covered by the estimate. And it's such a small, you know, it's like anything. If it's one thing, if it was, you know, $500,000 worth of work, okay, maybe that's worth it for a company to get in there and sink their teeth into. If it's, you know, $72,000, well, think of what's the business going to do? They can't be bothered. They're swamped and never been busier. Throw a giant number at it, see if it sticks, you know. And So that's the problem towns have. That's why towns don't really want to build things because of and let's say procurement laws. Everybody always blames prevailing wage, but it's really more. I mean, you end up with I'd say a 300 to 700%, above market. These items end up costing. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. All right, so we will table that till we have the rest road cost estimate. So next we have plan revision, 300 Turnpike Street, Southeastern Motors.
Yep, and
Is there
so
anybody here for that?
Derek Galtier is here. And again, if the person who's calling in is here for that, if they could please raise their hand. So Mr. Galtier is here.
Okay, Mr. Gaultier, if you just want to give your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours. Mr. Gaultier, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Derek Gaultier? All right. Do you want to
Try to log out and log back in?
Mr. Gaultier, did you hear you? No. Okay. Do we want to maybe go on to the next item and circle back?
Sure.
I mean, maybe he just stepped away from his computer for a minute. The agenda. So we have a request for comment, variance 21-9, 163 Washington Street. Let's see, which one was this? Oh. Okay, now I see Mr. Gaultier's
Okay.
Video for you.
audio. I love Zoom meetings. All right, Mr. Gaultier, can you hear us?
You just need to unmute.
Hi guys, how are you?
Mr. Gaultier?
Yes.
Okay, so good. If you could just identify yourself and give your address for the record, and then you can give your presentation.
Derek Galtier, 300 Turnpike Street, Southeastern Mass.
Welcome. All right, what do you have for us tonight?
We are just looking to downsize our project. We feel that a smaller office will suit us just fine. And we actually got away from connecting it to the other building to simplify things. So it is no longer connected to the other building. It's going to be self-standing. It meets all the setback requirements through the town. Will be 15 feet off of the other building. And that's pretty much it, guys. Just a smaller footprint and separate.
Can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
The plan? So I'm going to go, I just want to show the board. This is what the board previously approved. Now it looks, so this is the existing garage. You'll see this box that says proposed building addition. That is not the addition. This is the addition here. You can see it's almost the same size, same square footage as the existing garage. And what Mr. Gaultier is now proposing is, and that was to be an addition, and this is the change, which is a standalone building that is smaller than the originally proposed and approved. I just want to look at mine.
I have a question. On the new proposed building, or second structure, what will that look like?
We uploaded that. Susan should
Hold
have.
on, I will go to the elevation. It's very similar, I believe. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction.
I think I did see it, but I was on my phone
Yeah.
when I was flipping through that whole packet.
No, hold on. So yeah, that's the elevation.
Okay, I did see that. I wasn't sure which project that went with.
I tried to put it in the best location, I think.
No, that's okay. Yeah, like I said, I was on my phone. All right. So.
Yeah, this is the side elevation. I think there may be. And then it just shows a little bit of the layout inside.
And where did you get those? I could not find those under building designs.
They weren't uploaded the day I sent the binder, but they have since been uploaded, correct, Derek?
Yes,
I was
Bruce did
told
them
they
on
were
Thursday
uploaded.
or Friday.
Wait, then did he not put them in?
Maybe
building?
you put them in the wrong location because I mean I went to permitize. But
I
they're not
couldn't
on the
find them
plan.
either.
Suzanne, you couldn't find them?
I could not find them.
Okay, I didn't verify.
Okay, so here's one, just so you know, under common attachments, they're under common attachments.
Oh,
Yeah, under common attachment. So I must admit, I didn't get time to review this one prior to the meeting. Are they allowed to have two buildings without being a planned business
This is
development?
considered accessory, which is something I discussed in my report that, so what did I say? The originally approved addition would have added 2,800 square feet to the existing 3,000 square foot building. The smaller detached building is 1,200 square feet. It indicates in the narrative that it will be used as an office, which would be accessory use to the vehicle sales. And, you know, I didn't look, we had talked about this with the accessory structures.
Guys, just to clarify, this is all this is doing is replacing our existing office we've had forever. And this office is coming down once that's completed.
So to answer your question, Greg, and I don't know, how large is the existing office?
The existing office is probably 20 by, it's probably 20 by 15.
The proposed building that when it initially was approved was single story, and now this building looks like it might have 2 stories. Is that correct?
No, the other building also had a second story, had a mezzanine, was gonna have a second story.
Okay.
But it was attached, correct?
It was attached, yes.
And I know we're not looking at the site plan right now. What's the distance between the two buildings right now? Or proposed?
15 feet. I just happen to be on right on that. What was that? You mentioned that your existing office is replacing your existing office, or it's replacing the shed building? I mean, the smaller building in the middle of the lot?
Yes.
And also, it looks like sort of like a tent. I guess that maybe was, well, maybe that was just temporary.
Yeah, the tent is going away. That's where the building is going.
So yeah, so you're replacing that exists. So the end of that existing office is being raised.
The existing office is being demolished.
Is the existing office attached to the
Right
garage?
here, not, it's.
No,
just-
self-standing.
It's about 1, 2, 3. It's about 5 cars, 5, 6, 7, 10 cars away from the existing building, the existing big building.
One thing I see on this plan is that it shows the same typical parking space as 9 by 18, which we were already talking about earlier tonight.
That's,
I think that, I don't think that was different than,
But if that's existing, then
right. This is,
oh,
so, again, they had the existing office, which is smaller. And the accessory structures, the dimensional and density regulations, but it defines accessory structures, attached garage, a storage structure, or certain buildings like tool sheds, garden sheds, storage sheds, or other like buildings shall be allowed as accessory uses in the residence district, subject to the dimensional requirements in section 18, which is kind of circuitous.
the problem is that if we don't allow it in the business district, then it would be like an expansion of a non-conforming use and everything.
Yeah, see, my recollection was that's why it was attached originally. We had this discussion because otherwise it would have to be a planned. I thought the whole reason we had planned business developments because not more than one. Because with voluntary demolition, you give up your pre-existing non-conforming, right?
Either way, you're increasing the non-conformity if it's a bigger structure and 2 floors and everything, right? So we're not trying to be a huge pain here, but just that you can't just avoid certain things.
So at a minimum, I mean, this is before the board to be
Yeah.
discussed as to whether this is a significant modification
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
or a minor modification and or insignificant.
sounds like to me it would be significant for the fact that it's a standalone structure as opposed to an addition.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any reason the applicant does not have it attached? Like, do you have any, would you consider having the proposed structure be attached to the existing garage?
I'd rather not at this point. It's, you know, it costs more, there's more of a cost associated with it. And we don't really benefit from having it attached in any way, shape or form. I mean, we're literally just replacing, you know, an old structure that no longer suits our purpose. I mean, especially with COVID and everything else. I mean, we just want a nicer experience for our customers. That's pretty much it.
This doesn't even, so Greg, for a planned business development, it must be 2 acres or more.
Oh, I'm not saying this is a planned business development. I'm saying one of the benefits of planned business development, you have more than one
Right.
building.
I mean, they have a plan at this point. He could take it to the zoning enforcement officer and see, but I don't think it meets.
I don't think zoning opinions are given, if I recall.
Well, if you have a plan,
No, I don't think even if you have a plan, you can. I'm just trying to look through the bylaw here quickly. I certainly could see the office building being the primary use, and the garage could be accessory. And there is an existing, but maybe we should do that. If you're confident that things have changed and the building department will now give an opinion, maybe we should ask for that.
I originally talked to Kevin Vernier about it when I was making the change, and he looked everything over and he didn't see a problem with it. He just asked me to reach out to Stephanie about the situation, make sure Stephanie was okay with it. And that's where we are tonight. But I did spend some time with Kevin, and again, he did spend time researching it. He didn't see a problem with it in any way, shape, or form. But I guess we can ask Kevin again.
So again, we go back to the accessory use definition under use, a use incidental and subordinate to the principal use of a structure, a lot, or a use, not the principal use. Then it goes on to say, which is located on the same lot as the principal structure. And accessory use by area shall be interpreted not to exceed 10% of the area of the total use of the structure or lot on which it is located.
So I guess so what is the primary use of this business?
It's car sales, right?
Car sales, yeah.
Right, so wouldn't the office be the primary use and the garage would be secondary?
Well, it's sales, it's defined as sales and service.
Mr. Stetson, I'm always curious your opinion in these matters.
Well, confused by this one.
Just that
So the question I have, this may be for Stephanie, is, we're looking at the definition of accessory use, but how does that impact our analysis here? Let's assume that it is. What's your impression of the result here? And let's assume that it's not, then what's your impression of the result?
Okay, so I think that, I think this is a kind of, I don't know if it's a chicken and egg comparison, but you have an office, it's car sales, and you have a garage in which, Derek, you do service?
We service the vehicles that we sell.
Okay, so if they're servicing the vehicles they sell, I think the office is probably the primary use because you're selling cars, you do that through your office, and the garage is accessory. If it were, and what that would mean is that an accessory use in an accessory structure, but it looks like the definition of an accessory structure is more pertinent. And I think this came up when we were talking about storage containers.
Well, but I guess the difference is when we were talking about accessory structures in section 18, is it's sort of defined, and we were kind of talking about storage sheds and
right,
those types of, and garages and those types of things. I'm just that, and again, I don't think I was around when this was originally approved. So I'm still sort of, whether it's an accessory use or not, I'm just wondering what difference does it make in terms of our analysis?
It does in terms of the square footages, in terms of which one's the prime.
I don't think it, so I think to answer your question, if you look at the definition of accessory structure, this is a structure, it's a standalone structure. I don't think it makes a difference because it doesn't look like this meets the definition of an accessory structure.
I would agree, Stephanie, and I think that's why accessory use is more relevant. But I guess can you just clarify, do we not allow accessory uses or accessory structures in a business district?
Well, I think the comparison would be, was it 1 Washington Street, Greg, and other members of the board, Rob, I don't think Bob was a member of the board at that time, but Peter was as well. 1 Washington Street, where the applicant was running, he had a small building, an office, running a livery service, and then wanted to construct that garage that it was oversized. And I think he may have been planning to use it for doing some repairs. And he came back and filed for the planned business development.
Is that
Then after, I mean, there was a lot of debate and going back and forth on that with the board. And finally, what he did is I think he just built it as a smaller garage that it was accessory to. Actually, it was mixed use because they also had a residence there. So it's different.
Yes, I think there's a house, a very big garage, and an office on that same property.
Yeah, and so it was a different situation.
So looking at this, it meets all dimensional requirements. There's an existing sales office. They're now replacing it with, instead of doing an attached addition, they're putting on a detached second building. My only concern, I don't really see where accessory comes into play here because they do have an existing sales office.
Right.
But I thought there was something in the bylaw that talked of if you have more than one building, they need to be at least 40 feet apart. But I think that is in residence, as I don't see it in business as I do this.
Yeah, that's in the Queeset Commercial District.
No, yeah, well, I mean, it's in a residential district.
Oh, actually, it says except in the Queeset Commercial District, if more than one building other than a 1, 2, or 3 car garage or tool shed, greenhouse, or cabana may lawfully be placed on any lot in single or common ownership, the distance between the nearest parts of such buildings shall not be less than 40 feet.
Where is that?
It's
that's what I've been looking for.
It's Appendix B of the dimensional and density regulations.
Yeah, what number though? Because that's right.
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at the paper copy. It's it's after the
footnote. It must be one of the footnotes.
I'm in the footnotes trying to look for that. Yeah.
Right.
It's actually above the dimensional and density regulation table.
Oh, it is. It's right. Yeah. It's the second paragraph.
Boy, we got to change that location. Whoever looks up there. There it is. God, I hate that bylaw, the way it's structured. Yeah, see, all right, so except in the Queeset Commercial District, if more than one building other than
but it must be
tool shed, greenhouse, or cabana, and I think neither one of those structures is that, may be lawfully placed on any single line. The distance to the nearest point shall not be less than 40. Yeah, there it is. So to me, that was my, the lot is big enough, the frontage is enough, the percentage of construction, percentage of coverage is fine. It's the buildings are too close. They need to be 40 feet apart. And this is a totally new structure, so I don't see how there's any way around that unless you go for a variance. I'm not saying you can't go for a variance, but I don't see how we can approve it. That's in our bylaw right there. And if Mr. Greiner wants to correct us, I'm more than welcome to understand why, but I don't see.
Or I don't really want to spend the extra money, but I mean.
I know, but Mr. Gauthier, these are bylaws. We're not allowed. We're not trying to be difficult, but we're not allowed. These are bylaws. We're not allowed.
Totally get it. I totally get it. So the only way around this as it stands now, without talking to Mr. Greiner, is at some point in these buildings to be connected. Is that correct?
Well,
so,
you can apply for a variance. Yeah, I mean, in the original approval we had, right, it was an attached it was an attached addition. So that's why I said earlier, these are only 15 feet apart. If there was a roof that connected both of these, you may be okay. I don't want to answer. I've been burnt before trying to answer for the building department. I'm not going down that road again. But I think what Deb Balseric read is, I don't think there's any ambiguity there.
Okay,
Board members,
so-
if you differ, let me know.
So, all right, so based upon our conversation, the buildings have to be attached in some way, shape, or form. That's what I'm looking at to be compliant.
Or be 40 feet apart.
Yeah, or be 40 feet apart, or get a variance. Yes.
Okay, so I think the easiest thing is it would be connecting these buildings for so many different reasons, for keeping it neat, for keeping it over there.
Sure.
And the septic system takes up a big part of the other side of the property. It
Yeah,
really
I mean, it
does.
totally changes the site plan. I understand that. So.
So if it comes down to attaching it, if that's how we have to attach it, I can talk to Kevin tomorrow. If you guys are okay with with leaving that as the asterisk for tonight, we have to find a way. The buildings have to be connected to be compliant. Then so be it.
Yeah, Stephanie, don't you agree? I think it has to.
Well, right, that was what was previously approved, was an attached, so
Right,
I'm
but-
hearing that no, go ahead, I'm sorry, Greg.
I mean, but so, Mr. Gulta, I mean, yeah, he may, and again, I'm not speaking for him, but he may allow, if you just connected these, for example, with a roof.
Okay.
They consider that. Again, I'm not speaking for him. I want to make that clear. But that may be as simple as that. But I
Okay.
think, and this
No,
is, if you go to the bylaw, you can see Appendix B, dimensional and density requirements. This is the paragraph right above the table is where Deb read that from.
No, I get it. I appreciate your time. I don't think any is trying to be difficult either. I do think that.
I was just trying to let you know where you could find it if you wanted to see it.
No, that's totally fine. If you have any other questions, I'll answer them, or et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think board members, anybody, any questions? Or, I mean, I think if my only concern with this was with that, I knew it was there, I just couldn't find it. But yeah, this may just be as simple as just connecting with a roof. I don't see where that would. I guess the only no, I was going to say the possible issue would be the fire department, but they'd have access all the way around looking at this, so that should be okay. Anybody there?
I'm just, how would connecting it with the roof be different than the in-law apartment that was reviewed by the board a couple months back?
Well, as you know, the board, we are not the zoning enforcement officer. And if I recall, the zoning enforcement officer who trumps this board when it comes to zoning, didn't he on that in-law, he was fine with connecting, those fine people agreed to close it in because we had an issue with it. But we were told that by you that Mr. Greiner said just attaching that with a roof would keep it as one structure, even though we didn't agree that it met. Remember, Mr. Stetson and myself were like, well, wait a minute, we read some of the definitions of attached, but we're not the zoning enforcement officer. So that's why I prefaced everything. And I want this to be clear for everybody in this meeting and for everybody who works in town hall that might watch this and everybody watching at home. I have stated from the beginning that this needs to be confirmed by the zoning enforcement officer. I'm going on past precedent, short-term as it was, but that may be, as I said to Mr. Gaultier, and I stress it, that may be a solution. I want everybody to hear that. I said may. I didn't say it will be. I said it's may, because it's not up to Greg Strange. It's not up to the planning board. It's up to the zoning enforcement officer. I think I've made that clear. But if that's ambiguous, just let me know. Is that clear with everybody?
You're here.
Yeah, I mean, that's my recollection of that in-law situation we discussed. So I think everything I've described tonight is parallel. It's based on that night, and I think it's parallel to that. Doesn't mean it hasn't changed since then, but I'm just trying to help out a business in town, trying to give them a path towards approval. I don't see how this board can approve this right now because this clearly violates our bylaw. And we're not allowed to do that. And for the folks at home, that's why we talk about a variance. You know, we're not trying to be sticklers here, but we have bylaws that are agreed to by the residents for a reason, and we have to stick to those. And so as I understood it, as you described it to us, Stephanie, I didn't hear it firsthand, but at that time, Mr. Greiner said that attaching that structure with a roof would make it one structure, in his opinion. So I thought that would carry on through here. If I'm wrong, or if I've misrepresented something, please let me know. But that was my understanding.
That's not a misunderstanding or wrong.
Okay. So everything we've said prior to tonight, I think, is pretty consistent. And so yeah, so Mr. Gaultier, you're still there, Mr. Gaultier?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to talk to building inspector and ask about that. And I imagine Stephanie will probably check in too. But if he says that he'll consider this one structure, then I think we'd be good to go, unless the board had any, there may be some other changes on the site plan, but I don't want to speak for the other board members. But that would make it an addition, which is what was approved originally.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's just it's a smaller version of what we originally approved.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. All right. Well, sorry we couldn't wrap this up tonight for you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
But I must say, I'm glad that they found that because I was driving me nuts. I knew it was in there. So, anyways,
No
thank
problem.
you, Deb.
I'll,
right,
I'll reach out to Kevin tomorrow.
Great. All right. Good luck. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Deb. Good find. Let me keep my sanity. You're muted. I couldn't hear you wallowing in.
I said I've read that section a little too much.
All right. Let's see. Agenda. If I can find it. No. No. I really am getting tired of Zoom. What I wouldn't give to hold a piece of paper in my hand in a boardroom. It'd be so much easier to find these things. Bear with me, folks. Trying to circle back to where I started. Why is that? All right, let's go back to the towns. Go to all right. I believe we're going to go on to, all right, request for variance. All right. Yeah. 21-9, 163 Washington Street.
So this is a request. The existing building is mixed use. There are businesses on the first floor and there are 2 apartments above. One of the second floor units is being used for storage, and the applicant is seeking, or the petitioner is seeking special permit to make a 3rd apartment on the 2nd floor.
Boards, I await your thoughts or comment. Board members, I should say.
And I can share my screen. Just they submitted a site plan for this. And I drove by. All the businesses on the first floor seem to be doing well. There's a salon. I think there's a real estate office, some other personal services.
They would be below the height requirement with the 3rd floor, correct? Which I think is it 35 feet, I believe?
Well, they're not, the building exists. They're not adding anything to it. So I didn't check the height, assuming that it had met the height when it was originally approved.
They've done this previously, I believe, in this building, didn't they? About 2 or 3 years ago, Peter, does that ring a bell?
Did they add the 2 units that are already there, the 2 apartments?
Maybe they added one. They certainly added at least one.
I know there were apartments above the retail.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been 5 years ago, the way time flies, but it was definitely the time that Peter and I were both on the board.
So there are 2 apartments existing on the
Yeah.
second floor.
I bet you that's when, I remember the space was sort of already defined.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I think this had,
So is the space just not currently being used?
It's being used for storage,
Oh, okay.
and they'd like to convert that to an apartment, the space. I don't see a floor plan. That's what I was looking for. I thought I saw one previously, but I don't see one now.
It also says the
there's
unit
photos
lot is-
of the building. See, if you go in the under other info at Permatize, there's pictures of the building outside. And you
Okay.
can see there's 2-story elements, or story and a half. There's a 2-story element. There's a story and a half, like under a cape with a shed dormer. So I guess technically that's 2-story, and then there are separate dormers. So that's how they did it last time. And photo of unit 1. Let's see. And and they show a picture of unit 1, which it's above the Paul Joseph Salon. I guess they're talking about those windows on the second floor.
Doesn't say directly how they access it, but it does say it will have its own independent access. Are we assuming that that's going to be in the back?
Yeah, if you look again, I'm looking. There's another picture here, and it
Okay.
shows.
Where did you say it was under other?
It's under other info,
Yep.
and then photo unit 1, which is taken from Washington Street, and again, without a floor plan, we don't know, but they do show there's an existing deck and a set of stairs down. But again, that's kind of more of building department, anyways. We don't, egress, and although I guess we need to make sure it has separate entrances. So.
Is the parking that's in existence ample for the addition of 2, I guess it's 2 units, right?
There's certainly a lot of parking there.
There's parking out back too. There's parking over behind here.
Stephanie, what is the variance? Variance for what?
To allow an additional unit.
Expansion of the mixed use, I guess.
Right, expansion of the mixed use.
Why won't that open? Can anybody get A1 preliminary plan to open? I can't get that to open.
Hold on.
Yeah, so you see the thing, proposed apartment location above existing salon. Shows that. And then Deb, there's a parking count. I'm trying to find that for you. I saw it. Come on, computer, load.
There's a lot of.
Here we go. So there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 34. There are 34 parking spaces and 2 handicap spaces. And considering both these business uses, it's 1 parking space for every 500 square feet. That would seem to be ample. And I can't tell you, I know exactly what the square footage is, because the plan's a little blurry, but at Pears, there's roughly, the units are 30. Oh, there we go. Okay, 36 by 50. So on average, the units are about 25 by 50. So about 1,200. So let's say 3 spaces per unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8. Yeah, so there's plenty of parking for this, going by 1 per 500 feet.
So any thoughts on like why they wouldn't have just applied for a total of the potential to have 6 units from the beginning if they have the space? Like, is there something in our bylaws that prohibits the amount of rental units?
The frontage, the lot size,
Mixed use wasn't allowed at the time. Think
Yeah.
about back, remember the remember when we worked on like the village business district and you needed like 4 acres to have 1 bedroom? That was probably, I'm sure that was part of
Still
it.
by right. I mean, the only way you can do your multifamily is through a special permit, either.
Yep.
through
Yeah,
the-
they would have needed the variance for the frontage and the lot size just to have these units, I think. But,
Excuse me. But you know what, I look at it and it's been approved before, haven't been any issues. It's a nice building. It ties into all the things that we've been talking about through
I know,
the
that's
years.
right. You're trying to, it's a,
So and I'm sure, I think whoever developed this property had the vision, let's go a little larger and build it now, under the roof. It's like a cape, right? They just built it out a little pretty inexpensively with a couple dormers, gave them nice square footage. It's kind of the same thing we tell homeowners sometimes in the residential world. You can always grow into it. And, as the market evolved and they said, okay, let's put rental up there. So probably some sort of scenario like that, but it's a nice building aesthetically. And like I said, seems to be plenty of parking to hold it. Haven't heard any issues from the units that were added, a few years back.
I mean, I'll make a motion to recommend the variance.
second.
Any further discussion? Excuse me if you heard that at all. Hearing and seeing none. Yeah, I don't see any. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Right. And some reason my agenda keeps closing here. 153 Chestnut Street, special permit, request for comment.
So on this one, this is I believe it's Easton Tennis Club on Chestnut Street. And let me share my screen. It sits on an 11-acre lot. And this is, it operates under I think a special permit that was issued. Let me go back to my report. So since 1965, the tennis clubs operated in this is the residential zone under a special permit that was issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I think that there have been some modifications to it over time as they've kind of increased the activity there. They've made some changes. There was, I believe, like a dome, and that was then enclosed. And what the owner would like to do is subdivide the lot. And it also looks like I didn't get an answer on this. The lot as it exists today consists of the property boundaries are shown here, and then this stone wall shows as the property boundary on the east side. It looks like they're combining some of the land from the abutting property, so they may have acquired it. It doesn't look like this was in common ownership before this was drawn up. And they want to create 5 lots and then do a residential subdivision, which would, you have a non-conforming use as it exists with the tennis club, but the the tennis club would be serviced by the new road that would also service the residences. So they're seeking a variance to allow the operation to continue on the, on a smaller lot. And it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. I mean, going to the zoning board of appeals first, and then coming to the planning board for the subdivision review and approval.
Stephanie, on this plan on the left side where Chestnut Street, there's like is that an easement between 189 and 185, or is that a?
I believe, and in looking at older plans, that is part of this lot, even though it looks that they've drawn a lot line through it.
So there are a number of problems with this. If we're going to look at this as a conventional subdivision, and if I'm understanding the lot layouts correctly, I don't see where lot 4 has any frontage on.
They haven't drawn, let's see, wait a minute, actually, hold on. I looked at that, Greg. It's interesting, hold on. So I think what they want to propose is that this existing drive be the roadway. And then it comes
right,
up.
but what I'm saying, look at lot 4. There's no frontage on the road.
Right, that's what I was.
And even if there was, I mean, the frontage seems to be off the parking lot for the tennis club, which that's a stretch. Then there's a common driveway, and lot 4 doesn't have adequate frontage on Chestnut Street.
Right.
So how does that lot exist?
Right.
And you know, lots 2 and 3 have frontage on this new road. Still kind of odd. And then, or even I guess lot 5 does it have 100? Well, maybe it has 150 frontage. I don't know what the dimension.
Well, lot 5 would have.
Yeah, it probably has 150 frontage.
Right. That does. I'm trying to think, because I looked at this for lot 4 too, because you're right. It doesn't have. This is not 150 feet. I don't think this is only. This is a scale of 60. Actually, this is a scale of 60. But I don't know.
Yeah, so if that's 60, then none of those have 150.
I think the first, yeah.
Well, it looks like lot 5. It has a long run along that, but I mean, I guess the bigger question is, even if they all had frontage, right? I mean, they can work lines around, and even forgetting for a minute, that's, I mean, there's so many buffers on here. This is a big.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, you know, the first couple of lots. Okay, but you know, but I'm like the top 2 coming up out of a parking lot. That's kind of.
Right.
Is that what we want? Is that the, you know, I don't know.
Well, guys, right now, this is like they're trying to continue the special permit, right? And on a smaller lot, and then everything else will be, you know, we're not approving the whole plan here, right? But
no, you're not, because, I mean, and this is very much a concept plan. It's not, and I would suggest that this would certainly be an instance where if they get the approval from the zoning board of appeals, they come in with a preliminary plan.
Yeah, I mean, I just say nothing on this one, but I'm open to ideas.
I mean, there's the word that comes to mind is contrived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like what about?
You have wetlands. I've been out here. I've done this area there. It's just surrounded, enveloped by wetlands.
You don't even know which buildings they're keeping or not keeping. It doesn't. So
what was? I'm sorry if you said this before, Stephanie, but what the special permit previously granted by the ZBA? What is the special permit for?
let me go back to that. It was
Well, it's for
go
the,
about the use.
it's the use in a
In the
residential zone. Now it's gonna be the use in a residential zone on a smaller lot.
Yeah,
But there are extensions, you know, there are, if you go back from 65 to the next,
Yeah.
to the next renewal, to the next renewal, you know, they
right.
changed the building, that they said the planning board has to review anytime that you add in light, and it's just a big chain of
Yeah,
changes.
so, I mean, I think, see, I disagree. I don't think we should say nothing here. I think we should say that we're not, I mean, well, no, let me say that differently. I'm not in support of this because reducing, it might be fine to reduce the footprint or the, you know, the land area of the tennis club on the original special permit, but attached to this brief is a plan showing the potential, you know, the reason they're looking to do this. And in its current configuration, I don't think this is a good plan. I don't think this meets many of the facets of our bylaw and of our plans. And so I would be reluctant not to state
Okay,
that.
that's a great way to put it then.
Open to more developed creative ideas.
In order for them to create a driveway but want to consider it a road, wouldn't the roadway have to meet road requirements?
Oh,
Which
they
it
have to do,
doesn't.
yeah, they'll have to do stormwater and everything. They'll just,
Yeah.
they won't
Yeah.
get all those lots.
And where's it going?
And again, this is really a concept plan, but yes, all, the answer is yes to all of those. That they would need, the road, I mean, if you're serving 5 lots, you need to make sure that that road is going to hold up over
I
time.
mean, the fire department the fire department submitted their own letter. They have their own requirements, and they need they need a hydrant down there. They definitely upgrade the water service. It's all kinds of stuff.
Yep. I mean, we know, and this is what Greg is talking about with Lot 4, that it looks like what they're proposing is a common driveway there, but a common driveway does not provide frontage.
Peter, where did you see something from the fire department? I didn't see that.
One of the random attachment buttons. I feel bad.
Where? I didn't. I went through this like 3 times.
Was it under
I
info?
think if you click on the paper clip,
Oh,
you'll find that.
Other info, 153 Chestnut Street dash special permit 5/24/21 9/11.
Huh?
Go
Where?
to other info, and then go to the bottom file.
I'm
I
in
think
the,
that was it.
I don't see other info. Where is there other info?
You don't see other info.
153 Chestnut Street.
Are you on permitize?
Yeah.
Under site plan.
right under site plan.
Oh, I'm under a special permit. It's in more than one place. Hang on.
I clicked the link on the agenda. I'm not sure how you got there.
No, I think I did too. It's only.
Here.
Well, I can read it to you if you like.
No, but I just don't understand why I don't see it.
Is it?
OS attachment.
Isn't that simple to say that the plan received does not comply with the requirements or bylaws?
Oh, I just found it. It's on the board of. Okay, thanks. Well, yeah, it kind of goes back to what Stephanie said earlier, chicken or the egg. I mean, typically for something like this, they come and talk to planning first because we have much larger say on this. They're going to the Board of Appeals because the tennis club originally was under a special permit, I guess, for its creation. But the issue here isn't that the issue here is they want to create a residential subdivision. They should be talking to us
Oh, I see.
to try to work out a path. So, anyways, I mean, I just don't see.
Let's-
You know,
let's go to
I
the
just go with what I
application
said
permit.
earlier. I go with what I said earlier, but I just can't make a motion. So.
And Mr. Chair,
Well, the motion will be, Greg, the motion will be to return this to that board and say, come talk to us.
Well, I think, right.
I personally, I'm opposed to changing the special permit because of this plan that it shows, this 5-lot plan. I think there's issues with that. Doesn't mean it can't be worked out, but there are so many inconsistencies with this that I think a discussion between the planning department, the planning board, and the applicants needs to happen prior to, filing special permits or whatever. Because realistically, can this be developed when you start to think about, you said your stormwater management, things like that. I mean, there's,
Where is all of that going?
look at all this buffers. I mean, where's it going? You know what I mean? Because the largest developable in quotation fingers portion of this is where the two buildings are for the tennis club.
Yes. See
So
where
this is a bit of a stretch, and I get wary that they're going in for a ZBA special permit because I don't think that's the first step that you need on this. But
yeah, with look at Sawmill that has a lot less of a problem, and they're still discussing.
I think that one's going on my grave, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, they're viewing it like no different than the apartment we just looked at. They're saying, let's get let's get this variance or the special permit out of the way, and then if we have to go to the planning board, we'll do that. And they're just like any other person. A lot of times they go to the Board of Appeals first to get that, that variance or special permit in place, and then they go to the planning board. So they're thinking of it kind of in that sense.
Right. And I think the reason they did that is because there's no desire to shutter the tennis club, that they want to continue that operation and make sure that they can. Going
All right,
forward.
so board, do you support this or not? What do you think?
Do I support them continuing that operation as is on a smaller lot?
No. Let's talk about what this is. They want to put in 5-lot subdivision. Do we?
Oh yeah, not the way it goes.
Do we agree with the way they're going about this? I don't mean because they went to ZBA first. I mean the way it laid out, that they have, some houses. The first 3 houses. Okay, maybe there's potential, but then the first 2, but then there's using a parking lot for basically a parking lot's part of a common driveway.
Motion to deny.
Can you divide this and say the only thing we can?
I need some what?
What was the motion, Deb?
Motion to deny.
So you mean not to recommend, right?
Correct. Motion to not recommend.
Okay, and we have a second from Chris. Further discussion? I just had to address that because we had a motion on the floor.
Can I, further discussion, just say we would be open to some redevelopment, but putting like lots 4 and 5 or whatever they were called seemed quite a stretch. Or should we not include any comment?
Yeah.
I think we could say, I think we could say that we are concerned with the current configuration of the proposed residential development.
That sounds good, better.
Yeah, and if you look at the nature of the special permit, it says special permit to allow the development of residential structures on property located in a residential zoning district on which commercial structures and uses are presently located. It's actually written kind of funny because it makes it sound like they want to do it all on one lot, but really, I think, again, what they want to know is that they'd be able to do some residential development there and still operate the business.
Yeah, I just don't see how they get the top lots. I think that's
Right.
really, I think that's a tough precedent.
Yeah.
To basically use a parking lot as a portion of a public or private drive.
Greg, if you deny this, they will come talk to you, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we have to vote?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to not recommend with the notes as noted. Strange eye?
That's an aye.
Anderson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Kevin, Mike.
Greg, in addition to stating that the concern with the current configure or the configuration of the lots on the concept plan, would it be correct that you would also like to add and using the existing driveway and parking lot as?
No, we don't have to get that specific.
Okay.
I think the way I said it was a rarity for me, but I think it was succinct and effective.
Yep.
Again, Stephanie, when you deny, they will need to come and talk to you if they want to make any progress on this. That's when you engage with them.
Yeah. Yes.
And
that's when I call Greg.
Let's see. Getting back to here we go. My computer is acting really strange. There's an agenda out here somewhere. Here we go. All right, Turnpike we did. Variances we did. Meeting minutes, 4:26 and 5:10. The question we all want to know, Peter, did you read them? And what do you have?
I read them both without printing them off and looking at them on my phone, though. I just am not as thorough of a proofreader. I apologize.
No, I'm glad. Especially if you were driving, I'm good.
I just I scan them for content, but I don't go into as much detail as I could.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Anybody have any comments, additions, revisions, or motions for the minutes of 4:26 and 5:10?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes at 4:26.
That's in second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. And let me check. I don't see any. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
I will abstain.
Aye.
Absent.
All right. Amas voted in the affirmative, if you missed that. And same thing for 5:10.
Motion to, go ahead, Chris.
Motion to approve the minutes for May 10th.
Stetson, second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Strange eye.
Stetson, aye.
Shane, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Kevin, aye.
All right. Stephanie, the fiscal year for the town, or the calendar year, it ends June 30th, right?
Correct.
All right. So at our next meeting, we'll do appointments and boards and all that.
Yep.
And chair's report. So I don't know if any of you were there at town meeting on Monday night. We this man went to town meeting thinking, oh, I only have to talk for 3 minutes, and I ended up talking for 43 minutes. But everything passed, and I've been getting beat over the head online ever since. But that's the price we pay to make this big money. But anyways, everything passed, and so coming up, I'm a little busy the next couple of weeks with the wedding of my daughter. But after that, I guess we'll dig into get back to some of the things we talked about. The Queesa Commercial District, just kind of talking about that as a whole, as Stephanie put in the notes, accessory structures, and then design guidelines for Furnace Village and Queesa we're ahead. So I guess it was just for Furnace Village. So we can that'll be our summer assignment, because I suspect we're probably gonna see a few things coming up if the murmurings are correct. So coming up in Queesa Commercial. As members of the community seem to know more than members of this board, so we shall see. Anyway, so that's that. Stephanie, do you have anything?
No.
Right, I think I got everything. Yep, that's everything. All right, well, thank you, folks, and got you out of here at kind of a decent hour.
Is our next meeting on the 14th?
Yes.
So I won't be able to be at the meeting on the 14th, but It looked like it was more than 2 weeks away, so I just wanted to confirm.
It was your turn to bring brownies. So we'll just have to
Hand deliver them instead.
That's right. That's right. We won't have to wear a mask.
That's right.
Stephanie,
it
is there
cause
any
for celebration?
So is there any talk of, now, so on the 29th, right, everything changes. Do anything with remote meetings and all? Have you heard
Well, that doesn't change on the 29th. It changes on the 12th when the governor lifts the state of emergency. So what I can tell you at this point is everybody, and there's been some discussion in the town office what that means, because there'll be no legal framework for remote meetings and remote attendance, because that was all allowed under the state of emergency and the governor's order.
Probably the next month or two, things will start to become more clear.
Right. Well,
Things work.
I hope you said over the next couple of weeks. There's
Yeah.
So you're saying when you say the 12th, June 12th?
June 12th. But what I can tell you is there is legislation at the State House seeking to allow remote attendance at meetings, which, I think a lot of boards are hoping will pass, because it will allow people to attend, but it wouldn't mean that your whole meeting would be a Zoom meeting. But I think that there are some challenges with that and how that will work, having some members of the board and possibly members of the public attending remotely while you're actually holding an in-person meeting. In any case, that was moving forward in the legislature, and I heard that they're going to try to pass that faster, just so that communities are in a better position on the 12th. But we don't know. And I also heard that some of the allowances that the governor's order had made, they're looking at maybe extending a little bit longer, and the remote meetings might be one of those items. But to allow a smooth transition.
Yeah, I think, because both remote and in person, that's going to put quite a bit of onus on
the chair.
on you.
Yeah.
Because then you're handling the meeting and you got to deal with the whole technology part.
Well, it gets awkward, as I think you've noticed, because as the chair, you run the meeting. But if I'm over here seeing someone's hand, I feel like I have to interrupt, and it's a little awkward at times.
You have to start wearing shoes again to the meetings.
I wear shoes all the time.
All right.
Need to wear pants.
Right here, baby. Just don't be accused of anything. All right. Now, I'm out of breath from doing that. How bad is that? All right. All right, kids. Well, thank you. Who wants to take us home in the old Wayne Benson style?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Suzanne, I'll let you decide on the photo finish for the second.
Sure.
Thank you all. Thank you, Easton. Thank you, ECAT. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys on the 14th. Thank you, Steph.
Good night.
Guys,